A buyer just put a multiple on your business, maybe 6 times earnings, and you already did the retirement math. That multiple is the number that matters least, and the gap between it and your bank account can be brutal. Owners hear that same multiple every day and walk away with completely different money. Here's what actually happens between the quote and your account. 3 things quietly shrink the money, and most owners keep far less than the headline promised. Picture a clean example. 6 times on $2 million of earnings is $12 million on paper. Now watch how fast that 12 million starts to melt. I'm James Bell. I've sat on both sides of these deals, and I've watched more owners get surprised at the closing table than I can count. None of this is financial advice. It's just what the buyer already knows and hopes you don't. Start with add-backs, because this is where the multiple quietly attaches to a smaller number than you think. An add-back is any expense you argue isn't really part of running the business. The owner's inflated salary, the family car, the boat you run through the company. You add those back to prove the business earns more than the tax return shows. On average, add-backs make up close to 1/3 of the earnings number an owner takes to market. Here's the trap. The buyer goes through every one of them and throws out the ones that won't survive a hard look. Every dollar they reject gets multiplied. At 6 times $100,000 of add-backs, the buyer refuses, erases $600,000 of price. This one fight over whose add-backs are real is the most common reason a signed letter of intent gets reopened. Then the price gets cut. Say you win the add-back fight and the price holds at $12 million. Here's the next surprise. That number is not what hits your account on closing day. In a typical lower middle market deal, only about 70 cents of every headline dollar shows up as cash at close. The rest gets parked. The slice sits in escrow for a year or 2 in case something goes wrong. Another slice becomes a seller note, which is you lending the buyer part of your own sale price and hoping they pay you back. And more than 1/3 of these deals carry an earn-out. That means a chunk of your money depends on the business hitting targets after you've handed over the keys. On a $12 million headline, 3 or 4 million of it can be a promise you have to wait and hope for. I built the exact worksheet I used to turn a headline number into a real net. It's yours free in the playbook link below if you want to run your own deal through it. Now the last one, and it's the one almost nobody explains until the final week. Every deal sets a working capital peg, a normal level of cash, receivables, and inventory the buyer expects the business to carry on closing day. Deliver less than that peg, and the price drops dollar for dollar to make up the difference. This quiet little number moves real money. The working capital adjustment usually swings somewhere between 5 and 15% of the whole deal. On a $5 million sale, that's anywhere from $200,000 to $750,000. One accounting judgment call in the last stretch decides it. Most owners never see it coming because their attention is on the multiple, right where the buyer wants it. Let me tell you about Ray. He ran a parts distribution business in Ohio, about $2 million in earnings, and a broker quoted him 6 times. That put $12 million on paper. Ray kept clean books, brought a proper report to the table, and his add-backs held up. His working capital was tight and his earn-out was small. Over the next couple of years, Ray collected almost the whole number. Another owner down the road got quoted the same 6 times on the same kind of earnings. His books were loose, so the buyer tossed a big share of his add-backs. His deal leaned on a heavy earn-out that never fully paid, and he missed his working capital peg at closing. The headline was the same, $12 million. He cleared closer to $7 million in his own account. That same 6 times left the 2 of them $5 million apart. That's the whole game. And size tilts the table before you even start. A business earning $20 million a year commands a higher multiple than one earning $3 million. Sometimes it's 30 to 60% higher for the exact same kind of company. Under about $2 million in earnings, buyers apply a small company discount. The multiple was never really about you. It's about how safe your money looks to the person buying it. So what actually protects your number? One move does more than any negotiating trick. Before you ever go to market, you pay for your own quality of earnings report. It's a clean outside review of your books that proves your earnings are real. Sellers who bring one to the table have transacted at around 7.5 times against about 7 times for sellers who don't. And they cut the buyer's due diligence from 3 or 4 months down to roughly 2. That gap used to be rare. A few years ago, only about 4 in 10 sellers in this size range showed up with that report. Now it's closer to 7 in 10 because the ones who did it watched it pay for itself many times over. When your earnings are proven before the buyer starts digging, far fewer of your add backs get thrown out. The whole deal holds closer to the headline. So before you fall in love with the multiple, walk out with 3 things clear in your head. First, that multiple gets applied to your earnings only after the buyer throws out every add back he can. The number it multiplies is smaller than yours. Second, only about 70 cents on the dollar is cash at close. The rest is escrow, a seller note, and an earn-out you may never fully collect. Third, the working capital peg and the deal structure quietly decide the rest, long after the multiple is set. Here's my one ask. Before you take any offer to your family as a real number, run it through the net proceeds worksheet in the free playbook link below. See what actually reaches your account. Do that one thing and you'll walk into your sale with your eyes open, quoting yourself the number that really matters. That's the number that funds the rest of your life.